What's happening, people? We are here for another episode of Let the Punk Talk, as always, joined by Carl from Boxing Royalty and our very special guest today, Seamus Devlin. Seamus, how are you, bro?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me on, my friend. It's an absolute honour.
Thank you for coming on, mate. So,
No problem.
Seamus, did you have an amateur background?
I didn't, mate. I didn't have no amateur fights. I didn't start boxing. I never stepped foot in a boxing gym till I was 27 years old.
Oh,
That's
wow.
when my journey started.
Mm,
It's over 6 years ago. Um, I knew it was going to be a hard climb, as obviously with no amateur experience, the fundamentals are integral in this
yeah.
game. And when you do what I did, and you're self-taught and you're going from gym to gym, what you can do is you can hardwire bad habits
Mm,
into you that take a long time to get out of your game. So that's what happened to me. The first 10 months I was training by myself, learning what I could, traveling from place to place. And yeah, I picked up a lot of bad habits in doing so. But I had no amateur experience to answer your question, no, none whatsoever.
did you go the white collar route then?
I did, yeah, I did the unlicensed route. I did quite well on the unlicensed game. I started out with, I think, the first three I won, and then I started taking silly fights up and down the
Mm,
country. I was notorious for that. You could get hold of me on 24 hours notice.
yeah.
I'd be there, mate. Whether it's Somerset, whether it was far up north or right down south, I would be there. Um, Looking back, a lot of the fights I shouldn't have been in,
Mm,
but to be fair now, looking back, hindsight set me up in good stead because that attitude and that desire to fight anybody and getting is obviously set me up in good stead now in the pros,
yeah.
doing what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm glad I did it that way.
Yeah, of course, mate. Proper fighter, man. That's what I like to hear. What I like to hear. So, what
Likewise,
was
brother.
the decision then to turn professional? And obviously, why did you decide to go on the road instead of go the prospect route?
It was because to answer the second part first, it was the ticket sales. I knew full well that I would not be able to
Mm,
sell enough tickets that it would require to be on the home side. Plus, with my age at the time, I'm 34 now, just turned 34 a couple of
mm,
days ago. I was 33 at the time. Um, I didn't see me going on to win British titles or international titles, so I thought I'll go on the road. I always knew I was a durable lad. I loved the game.
mm.
I love fighting regular, so I thought this is for me. This I'm cut out. I'm cut out for this. So yeah, that was a decision to go on the road. It was spurred on by COVID. To be fair, I think everyone had a rough time a couple of years ago,
Yeah,
2020,
yeah,
um, and there was nothing. There was just nothing else. There was nothing else to focus on. So for me, I found some peace in that solitude. Strangely enough, always trying to find a silver lining. I've always been like that. So I thought, right, I'll use this isolation as a time to sharpen up, get the weight off, get fit again. And that's when I come across Curtis Gargano's posts on social media, and I
yeah.
reached out to Curtis, and the rest is history, my friend.
Nice. Yeah, I like Curtis. I actually met him in my last fight. He was in the CAF talking to Steve Goodwin, and I walked in and I was wearing like a suit, and my girlfriend was all dressed up as well. And I just walked past, said hello to Steve, and was ordering. And then like 5 minutes later, Steve was like, "Jack, Curtis thought you was going on a night out the way you were dressed. He didn't realize you were boxing tonight."
That's class. That what a fight that was, by the way, as well, mate. Absolute
Thanks,
cracker,
thanks,
mate. Absolute cracker.
thanks, bro.
Celtic fight. But
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
Curtis is one in a million, mate.
Mm,
He cares for his fighters. What I will say, anyone who's looking to go on the road, who's serious about going on the road and making a good go of it, Curtis is your man, especially in the Lancashire and the Greater Manchester areas. He's your man. He really is. I mean, he's taught me some massively integral tools to going on the road because obviously when you're fighting on the road, people on the outside, the casuals might not understand it, but
mm,
the people inside the sport do understand the business side of it that precedes the sporting ethic sometimes. But with us fighting as regular, self-preservation has to come before the glory,
yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes. And this is why it's hard, what people don't understand, the psychological aspects of that. I've
Mm,
gone home sometimes and yeah, I've seen the final bell and it's all good. I'm on my way to a record, but you know there's something missing. You didn't leave it all in there.
mm.
And there's a disappointing feeling when you go home, a little stirring feeling that sits with you until the next day. You have to dust it off, get straight back in the gym, and you have to go again. But yeah, it's really, really hard because like I say self-preservation has to come first. And sometimes, as a
Yeah.
fighting man, a proud man, it hurts because you want to get in
Mm.
there and you want to leave it all in there. But it's not possible if you're fighting every week. And
Yeah,
anyone who tried it would see what I would be meaning there. It's very, very difficult to do so.
yeah, 100%, mate. I totally agree. Do you Because I know a lot of journeymen don't spar. Do you spar, or do you just leave it all to the fighting?
No, I do quite a lot of sparring.
Oh,
It's
really? Yeah.
some, yeah, I do quite a lot of sparring. I think I read it recently in the Peter Buckley book as well. Peter Buckley used to get asked that, and he'd say, people used to say, "I bet you don't do any sparring because you fight as regular." And Peter Buckley said, "No, in fact, he does a lot of sparring." And
Oh,
I'm the
wow.
same. I mean, yeah, what it is, a lot of journeymen do not because the fighting's so regular. So it's self-preservation, as I touched
Yeah.
on earlier as well. But with me, I'm put together like an old leather boot, mate. So I'm quite lucky and I'm durable, but I know when to play it safe and to utilise the space in the ring and get on my
Yeah.
bike. And I know when to mix it up and have a go and let my hands go a little bit more. You learn all these things. But
Mm.
yeah, to answer your question, I do quite a bit of sparring, mate.
Oh, nice. It's quite interesting. So, take me through your first fight with Leon Willings, I think his name is. How did you find the whole experience, the atmosphere on the night? Like, talk me through the whole occasion.
I was petrified.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Do you know, looking back now, because it wasn't even a year ago, mate, and I was
Yeah.
absolutely petrified. I think the nerves were verging on the neurotic. Honestly, they were. I could not control them. I could not
Mm.
control the nerves on that night. I'm an honest man. I like to pride myself on being honest, and I was petrified. Um, I'd not been in the ring for a while. I didn't know what to expect in the pro game, the level of operator, and I found out that night it's a completely different ball game to the
Yeah.
unlicensed game.
Mm.
Yeah, so I was really nervous. As soon as that bell went, I mean, I hear a lot of fighters saying that, but it's true. I think it's too late now to you
Yeah.
can't just go, hold on a minute, give me a second, mate. I'm off skis. You know what I mean? I don't fancy this. So you're in, aren't you? Once you're in, you're in. So once
Mm.
that bell went, I just kind of went right. I've got a job to do, and I was in survival straight away. Looking back, for a lot of my fights in the first 6 months, I was outgunned, not every time, but a lot of the time I
Yeah.
was outgunned and I had to learn to survive. But what came from that, what was born from that, was a pretty good defence, a defensive shape, learning to hold, spoil, slow the prospect down with
Yeah.
the jab. So, yeah, but that was a tough, tough night. I think that kid will go on and do really well. I really do think
Yeah.
he'll do well.
Nice, man.
Just a quick one, Jack.
Yeah.
Seamus, did your opponent know on the night that you was going to be a journeyman with it being your debut?
That's a good question, actually, man, mate. I think so. I think so. With social media now, everyone can see what's going on, and everybody can have a peek inside. You know what your gym affiliation is, who your coach and your manager is. So I think he must have known. He might have been told. He might have kept an eye on social media. I think he knew I was going on the road. Yeah, because he's managed by Kev Marie, who's quite familiar with me and would have known the dance. So yeah, I think he did know I was a journeyman, mate.
Mm. Yeah, I would have imagined he would have known, but the only thing is, coming up against a journeyman in his debut, you just never know what to expect. That's
Yeah,
like,
that's it. I was an unknown quantity, so
mm.
yeah, buddy. I think he got the measure of me after the first minute. So yeah,
Yeah.
he was ridiculously strong as well. Very really strong kid. I think he was only 19 when I fought him. He's 20
Oh,
now.
wow.
On
Yeah.
21, yeah, and he's a big, strong guy. He hasn't even filled out into his body yet. So I think
Yeah.
that I don't know if he'll be able to remain at super middle. That remains to be seen. But I really do. There's a lot of fighters that stick in your mind once you've fought him, and he was one that
Mm.
definitely stayed with me. There's quite a few. I mean, Paul Keane, he holds the IBO international title. He was absolutely quality. I went 6 rounds with him.
Mm.
There's a few that stand out, but Leon was one of them that I was like, yeah, this kid's mustard. He's going to go on and do really well.
Nice. We'll have to keep an eye on Leon then. So
100%. Trained by Terry Spencer. He's a brilliant coach.
nice. Obviously I've always been a prospect and I've always been the home fighter, so I've never experienced what it's like to be an away fighter and be on the road all the time. Like, how are journeymen treated? Because I know, like, sometimes when you go in York Hall, you'll go down and past like the away changing area, and they're all kind of just like crammed in. Like, it's not like the home fighters where they get a nice changing room and all that. But also, I had a friend called Jules Phillips who was a really good journeyman, and like he also got flown out to Ireland and got put up in a 5-star hotel. So you see that you kind of see the good and the bad. But like, from your experience, how have like you being a journeyman, how have you been treated in the world of boxing?
Yeah, it's funny that you mention Ireland. We got flown out to Ireland twice in the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Nice.
And we were treated really well, mate. Really well. In
Mm.
fact, it's one of the best promotions I've fought for. Mark Dunlop, his promotion, absolutely brilliant. We were looked after. You are most of the time, mate. In fact, I can't really look at one fight in particular and say, well, we were really mistreated there.
Mm.
Everyone knows they've got a job to do. Everyone knows the score. Everyone knows what weight they've got to be. Promoters that I've dealt with have been very nice face to face to deal with. We get paid well. Everything's spot on, mate. I think we get treated really well. Some journeymen might say differently. I don't know what their experiences have been, but I've been in this game nearly a year now, and I don't have anything negative to say in regards to any promoter, matchmaker out there. Everyone's been spot on, mate.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. So, fast forward 20 fights into your career, you come across Navid Iran, and it was your first win. So, take me through that whole experience, getting your first win as a pro, and like, was it one of them moments where you always normally played a game and then you woke up and just thought, yeah, do you know what, I'm going to go for this today? Like, talk me through the whole experience.
Exactly that. It was. I went in with the journeyman's attitude. I still have the journeyman head screwed on. Take a look at him, and then if he's there to be taken, we'll have a pop, sort of thing. But he was probably one of the strongest guys I've fought, Navid. He was the hardest hitter.
Yeah.
I was lucky that he never managed to catch me with anything flush or me walking onto anything, because I'm quite a cautious fighter, which comes with the nature of being a journeyman. But he was very, very strong. But in the first round, I knew after the end of the first round, I thought I can beat this guy, because he was sitting back. He never went through the gears. He never took a risk. He never closed the range. He was in no rush to close the range. He just stood at range and let me pop the jab. When he did rush me, I moved quick on my feet and I held and I spoiled. So I think that was deterring him. He got very frustrated. He couldn't get past my jab. It was an absolute euphoric moment, that first win, mate. As I said, the 6-7 months leading up to that have been quite rocking. I was pulled in by the board. I was put on review. Obviously, they want your best interest. They got your best interests at heart. We want to make sure that you're safe in there. So yeah, there was a bit of pressure on me, and I needed to start getting some results. So that moment was absolute euphoria, mate. And ever since then, my confidence has grown. I've tried to stay on that crest of a wave.
Yeah.
When you're in that gym, there's no the bad session's the one you miss. When you're in that gym, you'll learn. If you're applicable and you're switched on, you're always learning something. In this game, always learning something. So I was straight back in the gym. I was applying myself and I was learning straight away. Keep learning. And I'm getting to that point now. I'm getting very competent. But that fight, that win, mate, to go back to that victory, was absolute euphoria. I don't know if you've watched it to the end, where it gets announced and my reaction tells you everything. I was absolutely over the moon.
I have to give it a watch, mate. But it's quite interesting. You mentioned getting called up in front of the board is one of my questions I was going to ask, because I heard it was something like every 10 losses you get called up in front of the board. Is that true, or how many losses is it? Or
that's accurate, give or take. I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but yeah, it depends. If you've lost 10 fights on the trot and you're not winning any rounds, someone's going to have to look into that. You know, see what's going on there. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't want punch bags. They want someone who can look after themselves in there. And that's the one thing I like about the board. They want everybody going home safe to the families. The medicals are thorough. We get the brain scan every year. I think it's absolutely brilliant, mate, because I'm not slating the unlicensed for the bare knuckle in the world. That's the game I come from. But that's what gave me my peg up in this game. But there's a lot that's left to be desired in terms of medicals and a lot of other things that need galvanizing, that need cleaning up. But the board, I think it's every 10 fights or so. If you're not getting results, you're not winning rounds, you will be reviewed. You will be put on report.
Okay, fair enough. So I was looking through your record today, and I noticed you've been in with quite a lot of good lads, but the most known one, I would say, was Joe Laws. So what was it like sharing a ring with Joe Laws?
That was a real experience, mate. That was a real experience. You know, I've seen the weird thing was fighters like him, when I was in lockdown at my lowest point, I was seeing little media snippets of him, things that he was getting up to. I think it was an interview with Ryland Charlton when he just before he fought him in the lockdown period. And I was watching him, and this is why it was strange. I remember looking at him thinking he's a bit of a character, quite a funny guy. And then a year and a half later, I'm stepping into a ring with him, mate. So it's very surreal, but what a character. When you meet him at face value, him and his father were absolutely brilliant people, massively respectful, funny guys, funny people, very jovial attitude. But they were absolutely spot on with me, mate. We've stayed in touch ever since. We've kept corresponding on a brief basis. And he's an absolute diamond of a bloke, and so's his father, mate. But what an experience to fight on Box Nation on a prevailing platform against Joe Laws. I couldn't have asked for better just coming up to Christmas. It was an amazing experience.
Oh, that's good to hear, man. So, what would you say was your toughest fight in your 34 pro
But
fights? Yeah.
yeah, oh, toughest fight. There's been a couple. My debut with Leon Willings has got a register up there.
Mm.
Um, Ryan Amos from
Yeah.
Nottingham. Ryan Amos from Nottingham. I think he's actually got the Midlands area title now. I think he won that
Okay.
successfully
Yeah.
in his last bout. And it's got to be up there with my toughest because he sat on me for 4 rounds. He smothered me. He didn't let me
Yeah.
breathe. And he put a barrage on me. It was an assault. He absolutely stuck it on me. So that's
Yeah.
got to be up there as one of, if not the toughest night. But Paul Keane, in his own right, not so much.
Mm.
He wasn't a concussive puncher, but he was technically brilliant and he was hard to even catch. His feet were brilliant. His range management was top class. For me,
Yeah.
he's close to world level, is Paul King. So, yeah, there are a few worthy mentions. There's been quite a few, mate. Josh Gooding, he was a talented guy. I just
Mm.
fought him recently. There's been quite a few, mate. But I'd have to put Ryan Amos at the top of that pile.
All right, fair. So you might have just basically answered this, but who would you say the best boxer was you've been in with?
Oh, Leon's still got a lot to learn. He's going to
Yeah.
develop. But I've got to say it's got to be Paul Keane. But
Mm.
Josh Gooding was very talented. He's up there somewhere in the mix. But it's got to be Paul Keane. Southpaw, brilliant footwork, brilliant punch variety, and he's fought at a really really high level. So I'd say
Mm.
Paul Keane.
All right. You said you pride yourself on being an honest man. Who was the worst boxer you've been in with?
The word boxer. Oh man, I don't know if I can answer that. I don't. I don't I'm not going to say worst because I don't believe I've fought anybody that's been below par. There's been
Mm.
a couple where I've honestly thought should have got the nod, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
mention I find it disrespectful to do so. But there's
Fair
been a
enough.
couple of fights there, 2 or 3 that I should have at least got a draw, maybe got the nod. But who was my easiest night's work? I don't like saying it. I find it a tad disrespectful. I'll say my easiest night's work without being disrespectful at all, and this was because there was a bit of a size difference.
Mm.
Um, so I was a lot bigger, a lot stronger, so I could just walk him down and take his punches. But he was a good fighter. He was very busy. But I'd say one of my easiest nights was Kyle Boyd in Scotland because I was a lot bigger than him. I was a lot
Okay.
bigger than him, so I could just walk him down. But
Yeah.
not a terrible fighter, and what a brilliant lad. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that, mate.
All right. Fair enough, mate. I'll take it. I'll take it. So obviously you've had 34 pro fights now, and you've
Yeah.
never been stopped. So clearly you're a tough man. Do you feel like sometimes you get a lot of fighters in there that will look at that and be like, "Oh, this guy's never been stopped. I want to be the first one to stop him," and they go in and give you a real like good night's hard work?
Yeah, well, this is the thing now. I've not done myself any favors, but it is what it is, mate. I've never been one of them to take a knee or to quit. If you're
Yeah.
gonna put me out, you're gonna have to. The referee's gonna stop it, or you're gonna knock me out. It's
Mm.
as simple as that. And that's the only way I'm going. If the referee stops it, or you knock me spark out and snatch my consciousness from me. So yeah. But to answer that, I was talking about this last
Yeah.
week. Yeah, it was last week. I was talking about it with a friend and my brother, and my brother even said that now you're gonna have a target on your back because
Mm.
everyone's going to want to be that first guy to
Yeah.
stop you and put that feather in their cap. But all the best, they can try. We'll see if they succeed.
Exactly. Try their best. So you've been a pro now for a year, and you're one fight away from breaking the all-time record of most fights in a year. What would that mean to you? And it's going to happen this next weekend, is it?
Yeah, it's next weekend, mate. This weekend's fight 34. That's going to match the record this weekend, God willing. I'll
Okay.
take nothing for granted. And then
Yeah.
next week, if I get through this, which I'm pretty confident I will, I'll be, no matter what happens in that 35th fight, when my feet step inside that ring and I go through them ropes, I've made history.
Yeah.
I've set something up there that's going to be, I think, hard to measure. But I'm a bit disappointed because boxing was pulled in January, so I should have had 2 or 3 fights in
Yeah. Yeah.
January. So I
Mm.
could have already coasted past that. But I'm a big believer in for everything a reason. So I don't dwell on that too much. I just crack on. I've got a job to do and a record
Mm.
to break, and that's what I'm going to try and do, my friend. But I don't. I don't even like talking about it out loud because I think I'm going to
Yeah.
jinx myself. I'm quite a
Yeah.
superstitious man as well, and I think I don't want to jinx it. But as long as I keep doing my road work, as long as I keep doing my rounds, working on my timing, my range management, keep doing my conditioning, my core work, keep ticking all the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
I should do the job and I should get the record dusted. And as I say, make history, because surreal, mate. If someone would have said to me 5-6 years ago when I started the journey, you'll be doing this now, you'll be the most active journeyman in the UK and Europe, and you'll be breaking records and you'll be fighting on Probellum and Box Nation. And I said, get out of here, mate. Not a chance. You know what I mean? But for me, mate, I sometimes have to pinch myself. But desire, hard work, and staying consistent. I'll say that to anybody that wants to get into boxing. Consistency is key. It is key.
100%.
You've got to stay consistent. You've got to run when you don't want to run. You've got to go to the gym when you don't want to go to the gym. You've got to learn to ignore basic human instinct, basic rules. You've got to learn to ignore that. We all have that little voice, that subconscious that wants to keep you in your bedroom, keep you in bed in the morning, sitting on the settee watching Netflix where it's comfortable. You've got to learn to reprogram that. And I think I've become a master at that. And that's why I can deal with the psychological aspects of defeat, because we're getting defeated a lot of the time. And there's a healing process that comes with that. And we don't have a lot of time to heal. So we're straight back to the grind. And that's the hardest bit about this game.
Yeah, mate, and I really hope you do it. Well, I know you will do it, and I'll be looking out for it, man. So it'll be history in the making. So I know your nickname is the Celtic Cobra. Where did that come from? I'm guessing you must be like Irish, Scottish, or Welsh.
Yeah, I'm of Irish descent. My father was an Irish Republican from Portadown in Northern Ireland, County Armagh, which we lived for a brief period of time before we moved to the coast, which is in County Down, Newcastle in Ireland. Beautiful place where sectarianism isn't rife, so nobody cares about you being Catholic or Protestant. It's a beautiful place by the coast, and we had a nice family home there. But yeah, my father was an Irish Republican from Portadown, and growing up, we used to listen to all the Irish rebel songs and his stories of old about my granddad and etc. etc. So I used to always wind him up when he was alive. He's passed now. My dad is deceased from cancer, God rest him. But I used to always wind him up when I was alive, and I used to talk about the loyalists and the nationalists and just winding him up as you do. But when he passed away, that's why I made a promise to myself to fly the colours. And I always said, if I was going to fight, I was going to fight in his memory. So with him being a proud Irish Republican, I've followed suit, and I always come out with the colours.
Nice, mate. It's good to hear. So my last question for you. So there's a lot of good journeymen around. You've got Poochie, you've got Brett Fido, you've got Craig Derbyshire, who's two-time English champion,
Legends,
so on, so forth. Yep, 100%. But there are people now saying that you are Britain's best journeyman. Where do you rank yourself in the current British scene and journeyman?
In my weight divisions, in and around my weight division, I've fought at 4 different weights. I'd put myself right up there with the best. Overall on the scene, I think there's some way better journeymen than me, and that's just me being honest. I really do believe there's better technicians who could. But styles make fights. There's certain journeymen out there who can make a hard night an easy night just off their ability alone and defensive capacity. I mean, you mentioned one of them there, Poochie. If Poochie was in the gym training, that guy would be formidable. He's brilliant, really underrated. Not by the people inside the sport, but by the people outside. Poochie wouldn't even get recognised. But what a brilliant fighter and journeyman. But yeah, to answer your question, I think in my weight category, in my area, I think I'm right up there with the best. You've got Dale Arrowsmith. He's class at light middleweight. He's a brilliant. He's fought Bradley Skeet. There's many other names on his resume. But I've put myself right up there, mate, with some of the best. But I still think there's some journeymen out there that do it better than me. But that's debatable. Obviously, that's debatable. I like to get things bestowed upon me. I don't like to give myself the title. I don't like to be self-proclaimed. But it's an absolute honour, mate. I mean, to even have Peter Buckley commented on my post the other day, and I think he put #1 journeyman in the UK. And it meant the world to me. I don't think he had any idea how much that meant to me. I've nearly finished the book. I'm right at the end of his book. I've looked up to guys like that for years, mate. And people like Poochie, I was studying before I made my debut. Your Dale Arrowsmiths, Craig Derbyshire. I don't even class him as a journeyman, mate. That guy's absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, there's so many out there, mate. But I don't think there's as many as there was in the 80s and 90s. I think it was thriving. I think boxing's changed, mate, by all accounts.
Yeah, it has, definitely. But yeah, mate, just keep cracking on. You've got to be in the top 10 in Britain now, especially with the record on the way and all that. So yeah, mate, just keep plugging away. You'll get that #1 spot. And
Thank you, my brother.
100%. But yeah, that's all from me, mate. So I'm going to pass you on to Carl now. He's got some questions for you. Carl, take the stage.
Top man.
Mate, just listening to that is brilliant. Like, as I'm not sure you're aware, Jack knows I actually work with a couple of journeymen as like they ambassador for my company, Lee Hallett and Poochie. But
Hallett,
I
lovely
want to
lad.
carry on the subject of what you said there. What I know when I speak to Poochie and Lee, they've got relationships with fellow journeymen. Is there any journeymen that are current that you still speak to and you talk to week in, week out, hours of the fight, this, that, and the other?
Yeah, a lot of them. Dale Arrowsmith is one that I correspond with the most. Me and Dale Arrowsmith are always in touch. We speak every day on the phone. Me and Dale hit it off straight away. I met him at it was my debut actually, and we've stayed in touch. Poochie, me and Poochie correspond every now and again. Poochie's a brilliant lad. Lee Hallett, I've spoken to him a couple of times by messenger. I've met Lee a few times. I think he's really, really good. Another guy that I think slightly underrated. Brilliant fighter. But yeah, do you know what, mate? That's one thing that you'll notice with the journeyman. I've always said this. I'd have it no other way. I mean, that journeyman changing room, the atmosphere in there it's relaxed. Everyone has a laugh. I mean, everyone's really aloof and just chilled. I mean, I don't know if it's like this every time, but in the prospects changing rooms, I've been past a few times and you cut the tension with a knife. It's dead serious and dead tense. I don't know if it's been like that in your changing room, Jack, but dead tense. But the journeyman, I think it's a lot of them, they've just got their head around the job and they're enjoying it and they know what they're there to do. And there's a little less pressure on us. This is why people can say, oh, the journeyman, they've got it really hard. The fact, but the prospect has it hard. The stress of selling tickets, the stress of having to perform in front of all those, sometimes hundreds and hundreds of people. That's a lot of pressure. So kudos to them. I tip my hat to the ticket sellers. I really do. There's a lot of pressure on them. But yeah, mate, to cut that short, because I went on a bit of a tangent there, went rambling. Yeah, I stay in touch with quite a few of the journeymen, mate. We correspond quite often.
It's mad when you say about how relaxed journeymen are. I remember there was a fight night. I can't remember where it was. Poochie and Lee were both fighting. And an hour before the show, they swapped places on the card so Poochie could catch a flight to Dublin that night. And 25 minutes after his fight, he sent me a picture in the airport of a bottle of Corona. Half an hour before he's in the ring. And Jack, you'll agree when we had that photo shoot, mate, down in Hayes, Poochie was he's just a character, isn't he?
He's funny. He's funny.
He's so funny. And the trainer actually said that done it. I won't mention any names. He trained some boys. There was a lot of good fighters down there for the photo shoot. He said that Poochie hit like an absolute train. He said he hit hard.
Yeah,
but there was one thing you said about earlier, Seamus, about that guy that you fought and he was holding back. There's a story that I read, and it was a night, and again, it did involve Poochie, where he was boxing this guy, and this guy was just going hell for leather. And Poochie was saying to him in the ring, look, mate, calm down, stop what you're doing, play the game and I'll play. And this geezer for 3 rounds is going hell for leather in a 6th rounder. And in the 4th rounder, his trainer said to Poochie, look, you can't risk being knocked out, so fucking knock him out. And Poochie went out in the 2nd round, dipped and over the hand, bang, knocked the geezer clean out. Have you ever had times like that where your trainer said to you, look, if he don't play the game, just fucking spark him?
Yeah, well, we've had a few occasions like that where the lads come out swinging and he's tried to take me out. But sometimes it's better not to take that risk and leave yourself open by opening up. But I think Poochie's that experienced as well that he'll have known the opening was there every single round. He'd have seen that opening, and obviously all he needed was the green light to do so. But it's all different. It's different circumstances. You come across all different scenarios when you're in that away corner. There's all sorts of different scenarios. You never know what equations in front of you week in, week out. I mean, what worked the 2 weeks before might not even work the week after that, and you might have to completely switch it up. But I have had a few occasions where someone's been coming at me and really been trying to take me out, so I've had to match them a little bit. I mean, my last fight in Barnsley, I've got fight of the night, I think, officially. It was he come out and he come at me, and I had to just hold my feet and have it with him, mate. But he was a big, strong guy as well. But yeah, there's been a few occasions where someone's come steaming out and I've had to put a bit of mustard on the end of my shots.
Just tell him, calm down, mate, or you're going to fucking get knocked spark out. That's
the way.
And that's the thing, like, obviously, since I've been friends with Jack, I've gone to a lot of the small hall shows down at York. Before like what I do now, I was so envisioned on the big shows, the Joshua's, the Conor Ben's, whoever it is. But there was on the 12th of March when Jack fought, there's a journeyman, you must have heard him, called Jordan Granham.
Of course I've heard of him. I've met him several times, yeah.
And when I say to you, I've seen this guy fight 3 times, and he has won every single fight I've seen. He has then gone on to lose 6 rounds, 60-54, 4 rounds, 40, whatever it is, yeah? Is there times when you get to the end of that fight and you look at your trainer goes, you've done well there, and you think, I've won? and then they give it to 4 rounds. Like you said about the board earlier, where you've got to keep the board happy.
Yeah.
Then my question is, how can the board stay happy when the refs are constantly robbing journeymen of a 4-round loss or a 6-round loss? Does that not make? Do you not go into the board and say, "Hang on a minute, look at the last fight"?
It's an interesting point, that what you just mentioned. Then it may be a concern that needs raising. That maybe obviously if we're getting reviewed, maybe they should maybe review some refs. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they need pulling in and getting reviewed. Do you know what I mean? Depending, maybe should be writing a report about them. There's a few things that maybe could be tweaked, a little bit of the structure. But to me, I understand the game. I know what my role is most of the time. There's been many fights where, like I say, I'll not name them because I don't. Most of the people I fight, I end up adding on my social media, so they'll probably be watching this, and I don't want to upset anyone. But there's been a couple of fights where I've got to the end and heard 40-37 or 39-37, and I thought, not a chance, mate. It was probably that the other way around. There's been a few big fights, one where I was a massive underdog, where I thought that I at least got a round and maybe a draw of another round, and I got 40-36. And you think to yourself, all that effort I've just put in there to get told that I didn't even get a sniff of a round, I didn't even get a draw in a round. So yeah, it can be demoralising. As again, it brings me back to my older issue about the psychological aspects in this game. It's not easy, and anyone thinks it is, I dare them to come and try it. But yeah, it can be frustrating, mate. I've seen it myself where these fighters, and I've looked at it, I thought that could have been a draw. That was nip and tuck either way. And you hear 40-36 to the home corner, and you just think it's insanity. It really is. And you think, what fight was he watching? Do you know, it's strange, but yeah, it can be frustrating. But I think a lot of the journeymen have come to terms with it. They know what they're there to do, and they do the job, and they go home safe to the family with the money in the pocket, and everyone's happy, mate.
It is quite bad, and I'm not going to mention names either. But I was at a fight where a journeyman battered somebody over 6 rounds, lost the fight by a point, and the winner of that fight is now going on to fight for an area title. And I just think to myself, and I had a conversation with about a pro boxer the other night who trains with this person, and he even said to me, like, he lost to that journeyman and he's gone straight in now for an area title. It sometimes it's conning, because I was saying about it the other night. These prospects, you see a lot of them, they sell loads of tickets, absolutely shit tons of tickets, but they are absolutely useless. And Jack, you know exactly who I'm talking about here when I say about this, because I've spoke to you about it before. But there is this one guy that's fought the same journeyman a few times, and he's now fighting another journeyman again. Do you journeymen not just think, like, because I'm hearing talk that this journeyman's going to go in there and try it? Do you not sometimes think, if you box someone that you'd lost to and you thought you'd beat, would you go in there and be like, fuck this, I'm gonna go for it this time? Or are you happy doing what you do?
Yeah, I think everyone's different. I think if it's not, it depends if it's communicated to you or not. Do you know what I mean? There might be some conversations that take place behind the scenes that other people aren't aware of. But I've never really been. I've always been told that I can go in and win as well. Do you know what I mean? I've never really been told, listen, hold back. If this guy comes in, you act accordingly. If it's an easier night for you, just come off 2 or 3 fights on the bounce, you might sit back, enjoy a bit of an easy night, try and roll with the shots, pop your jab, keep him honest, entertain the crowd in your own little way. But yeah, it's like I said, it is hard, mate. Because sometimes you go in and you think, right, I'll have a go, and then you get told that you've not even got a split of a round, and you think, right, next week I'm just tucking up and going through. I'm just going to go through the motions. But yeah, it is really hard. But these topics are things that I'm glad you've raised a couple of these topics, because it's a subject that not many people talk about. The ins and outs of the sport, the little pockets in the shadows that aren't really seen. But yeah, I'm happy to just do my job most of the time, mate. But depending on the circumstances.
It's crazy. It's only because when you said the board call you in after 10 losses when you ain't won a round, and I think, well, hang on a minute, they win rounds weekly, But my last sort of question is for you. So you've got loads of different journeymen, you've got the guys like the Lee Hallets that turn up and they just storm to the ring, they'll fight, they'll get a bit dirty if they have to. And then you've got the other end of the spectrum, your Johnny Greaves and your Poochies that come out every week. Like Poochie comes out as Del Boy and Rodney with his trainer. He comes out as whoever he comes out of. When everyone sees Pooch, they know it's going to be a laugh and a joke. How are you one of them that just, look, I'm here to fight, let me do my 4 rounds, my 6 rounds, take my money and go home, or will you play to the crowd?
I like to play the pantomime villain. I did it against Joe Laws. I got mentioned on the Disciples podcast, Fight Disciples podcast. I got a good few shout outs off those fellas, and they said they loved it the way I walked in. I'm dead serious in my demeanour. I'm dead switched on, dead focused. And I think I hope it is anyway entertaining within itself, because I mean when the old booyah, I always give it the old what, you know, and I always stand and stare at the crowd. I love it. You've got to soak it up. But I am dead serious. I mean, like you say, Poochie has his little gimmicks and his little things he does, and it's really, I mean, I love it. We need characters like that. The small horse scene would not be the same without people like yourself, Jack. You've got to have these characters, people that stand out, that stick in your memory, and you go, do you know what? Yeah, because you remember them people, you remember those guys. So yeah, but I'm a little bit more serious, as you can tell from my walkouts. I'm a little bit more switched on, a bit more focused. But I do love playing to the crowd, and I love giving it the prospect, making funny noises, giving it the old Billy Joe when they miss with a shot. I love doing all that, mate, and it's obviously the crowd love it, because at the end of the day, we've got a job to do, which is go home safe as well and give the prospect a lesson, teach him a thing or two, maybe a thing or five, and then get out of there safe. But at the same time, you've got to remember is people are paying to come and watch that. So we've got to make it at least value for money in some regard. And that's what in the last 6 months, I think that's what I've learned to do really good, to make it entertaining, but still come out safe without any wear and tear. Go home to my family safe with most of my brain cells still intact, and on to the next.
It is. It's just a crazy thing. And the last thing from me, mate, is as you alluded to earlier, Jack was in a fucking barnstormer, which because my heart ain't going to take it. Mate, as a man who's had the 34 fights as you have, you know, you've been in multiple venues. Anything you can give to Jack that would help him get through that night? You know, Jack's going to do it. I'm telling you now. I've seen the man in camp. When I say it, and people are messaging me daily, I'll stop posting it, this, that, and the other. The man's a different animal. But
yeah,
any words of wisdom,
go on, mate. Sorry, pal. Go on.
Any words of wisdom you can give to Jack that's going to help him on that night? Any advice of a weekly fighter?
Well, to be fair, I find it a tad disrespectful, because he's been to nothing ventured, nothing gained, and he's been to a length that a trench that I've not yet ventured into. I think he's at a 10-round distance. You're doing 10 rounds, isn't it? Yeah. So for me, I couldn't really comment on that. I've done it in the gym, but doing it in the gym and under them halogen lights in front of all them people is two different things. But I think he knows the dance. Any best advice I could give to him would be to stay on track, stay focused mentally. Everyone knows once you've done your body's a third of it. You know this. Once you've got yourself in physical condition and you've hit that peak, you take your foot off the accelerator a little bit. Then it's about getting this right, getting this prepared to go to a depth that the other guy's not prepared to go to. And if you can take your head to that place and you're prepared to go to that level where he is not, he will unravel before you do. And that's just a fact. But yeah, that's the only advice I would give you. But I think you already know the depths if it's required to go to. But what an absolute war it was, mate. An absolute credit to boxing. And I'm looking forward to this, mate. I really am looking forward to it.
Thanks, Seamus, mate. I appreciate it.
Fuck the other guy, that's all I can say. Everything you said there, Seamus, is true, because Jack literally went through them trenches of that mindset. Paul gave his absolute best that night, and no disrespect to Paul because he's a nice guy, but I still stand by it. Jack was only at 50% because of the eyesight, you know. So I just think everything you said there is true. Jack, stay out of the way of any fucking flying headbutts. And I'll say it now. I wasn't ever going to say it, but I do honestly think Jack wins this fight inside the first half. I really do. Honestly, the way he looks is incredible.
Yeah, I think he's a credit to boxing. I mean, I've watched his interviews. I always watch his Let the Punk Talk. I always watch it. I always stay tuned. And I mean, when you watch his demeanor and the way you carry yourself, and you're quite an articulate guy as well. Last thing I would think that you'd be a fighter. You know, that's my honest opinion. And when you actually see you in the ring doing the business, I mean, you can fucking turn it on, mate. Sorry for the language, excuse my French, but you can turn it on, mate, and it's quite impressive. And I was like, this guy's got a little devil streak inside him, and it's madness, mate. It's good to watch. It just goes to show, never judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, 100%.
The measure of a man is not defined by the way he looks or the way he carries himself. It's what's inside here and what's in here. And you've obviously got what it takes, mate, to operate at that level. But I was massively impressed with you, mate. It really was.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
That's actually one of the reasons one of Jack's recent sponsors have jumped on. You know, we mentioned Justin Hunters. He come to me a few weeks ago when you spoke to him, Jack, and he said, "Well, what's he about?" He said, "Can I call you and speak to Jack? Speak to you about Jack?" I said, "Look, I said there's no one on the small hall like him. I said he paints his nails, he dyes his hair. I said he wears pink shorts. I said, but he doesn't give a shit." When I first spoke to Jack, the geezer was a prick. I'm not going to lie. I messaged him about that. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'll buy a shirt, but how many tickets are you going to buy?" You know, and I was like, "Fuck this guy." And now we're like good mates. It's crazy,
Yeah.
but I'm going to say it because, you know, the fight is so soon. If you're watching this and you are not going to York Corner 23rd of July, get yourself there. It's an unbelievable card. And I'm telling you, this man in the middle here is going to become the new Southern Area. He's the only man to fight for the title. So let's now get this man the title, and then we move on to bigger things as a team.
100%.
That's me done, Jack.
Sweet. Seamus, is there anything you'd like to add?
We're back.
Yeah,
Sorry?
you're on.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
something
we're
happened
back.
there. I think we're
Oh.
back. We're back.
I was just going to say, is there anything you'd like to add, mate? Anyone you want to shout out? Anything?
Yeah, I want to shout out to my sponsors. Upright Scaffolding, a local scaffolding firm run by Declan McKenna. That guy, unbelievable. He's been my sponsor from back in the unlicensed and bare knuckle days. So I've got to give a shout out to him. All the boys at the gym, Curtis Gargano's crew, Gargano Management. We are the boys. We are boxing. Luke Vaughan, one of my sponsors from Roof Kings. That guy has been absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I had my brain scan, my medicals, I had my license fee due recently, and it got looked after by all my sponsors, Daniel Alderson, Dawn Cryer and David Ridge of Nice Bite Sandwich Shop Padium. I've got to give a shout out to you guys, absolutely integral to my journey. Shout out to my brothers, all my brothers, I know they'll be watching this, Alex Devlin, Paddy Devlin, Adam Devlin. Shout out to my brothers, and shout out to all the journeymen out there that are doing it week in, week out. It's not an easy job, but it's one we love.
100%, mate. So yeah, that's it then, guys. We'll wrap it up there. Seamus, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, mate. Absolute pleasure, mate. It's been an honour, sincerely.
Anytime, mate. Thank you. Carl, as always, thank you for being here. And we'll catch you next week for another episode of Let the Punk Talk. Peace.